I still remember the sound the front door made when I pushed it open that night, a low, tired creak that echoed through the quiet house. It was almost midnight, that uneasy hour when silence feels alive, when even the walls seem to listen. My heels tapped against the wooden floor, each step sharp in the stillness. Before I even saw him, I could feel his presence. Daniel sat on the couch, the television glowing faintly in front of him, volume turned all the way down. A half-empty glass of whiskey rested in his hand, and the pale blue light from the screen washed over his face, making him look almost ghostly. His eyes, dark, calm, and painfully alert, met mine. "You're late," he said quietly, not angry, not accusing, just observing. That tone hit harder than any outburst ever could. I could have handled anger. Anger was something familiar. But this calm, this quiet disappointment made my stomach twist. I forced a smile, pretending the air between us wasn't thick with tension. "The party went on longer than expected," I said lightly. "Music, drinks, old friends. You know how it goes." He didn't smile back. His gaze didn't waver, and for a split second, I could have sworn he already knew. The truth was, I hadn't gone to that party by accident. I'd been planning it, or rather what I might do there, for weeks. It wasn't a spur-of-the-moment mistake. It was deliberate. For months, I had felt numb, craving something to remind me I was still alive, still wanted. Daniel and I had grown distant. Our touches had faded. Our words had turned into short exchanges about bills or groceries. We were living together, but not really together. So when my friend Mia invited me to a small get-together, just a few couples and some singles, I said yes instantly. I told Daniel it was a girls-only night. He didn't question it. That indifference hurt more than any fight ever could. At the party, it felt like I'd stepped into another version of myself, one where laughter came easily and people looked at me like I still mattered. That's when I met Chris. Tall, confident, effortlessly charming, the kind of man who made you remember what butterflies felt like. We talked for hours about everything. Music, travel, love, marriage, and how easily it all fades with time. He made me feel seen. It wasn't really about wanting him. It was about wanting me again, the woman I used to be before the silence set in. But that illusion only lasts until guilt starts whispering. By the time I got home, that whisper had turned into a scream in my head. Daniel hadn't moved. The TV still flickered in the background. "How was it?" he asked, finally setting his glass down. "It was fine," I replied, forcing nonchalance as I slipped off my shoes. "Fine," he repeated. His voice was calm, but something in the way he said that word made my skin crawl. Then he looked at me. Really looked at me. "Did you have fun being with other men?" My breath caught. "What?" He leaned forward, resting his elbows on his knees. I said, "Did you have fun being with other men?" My heart began to pound. He wasn't yelling. He wasn't angry. He just sounded hurt. And somehow that was worse. "Daniel, I don't know what you're talking about," I stammered. He sighed, picked up his phone, and scrolled for a few seconds before turning the screen toward me. It was a picture, me laughing beside Chris, his hand resting lightly on my arm. Someone had posted it online. Nothing scandalous, nothing explicit, but intimate enough for a husband to notice what had changed. "It's just a photo," I said quickly. "You're overthinking it." His expression softened, but his voice stayed low, heavy. "No, Emily, I'm not overthinking it. If anything, I haven't been thinking enough. I've known for a while that something's missing. I just didn't want to face it. Something inside me cracked, not from guilt, but from shame, the kind that seeps beneath your skin and stays there. I wanted to explain that it wasn't about another man, that it was about us, the emptiness that had grown between us like a slow, quiet poison. But the words wouldn't come. I just stood there, frozen in the weight of my own choices. After a long silence, Daniel stood up. He walked past me, pausing only once at the doorway. "I hope it was worth it," he said softly, and then he was gone, leaving only the sound of the door closing and the ache of everything left unsaid. He went upstairs without another word, leaving me alone in the living room with nothing but the faint hum of the television and the lingering scent of whiskey. The silence pressed in around me, thick and accusing. And for the first time I realized maybe it hadn't been him who stopped trying. Maybe it was me. I didn't sleep that night. I sat there until morning, staring at the empty glass he'd left behind, its rim catching the dim blue glow of the TV. Every small creak of the house sounded like a judgment. Every shadow felt like a reminder of what I'd broken. I thought about going upstairs, waking him, trying to explain everything. But what could I even say? That I wanted attention? That I missed feeling alive? None of it sounded like love. It all sounded selfish. When the first light of dawn crept through the curtains, I noticed the quiet absence. Daniel's car was gone. The coffee pot was still warm, a small trace of him that told me he'd stood there, thinking, deciding. I reached for my phone, hoping for a message. Nothing. Just that same photo, me laughing with another man, now making its rounds among friends who'd whisper my name in low voices. By noon, his message finally came. "Don't worry, I just need some space. I'll be home tonight." Those words gave me relief for a moment, before the dread set in. Space, the one thing our marriage already had too much of. When he came home that evening, the air felt charged, heavy with things neither of us wanted to say. He didn't look angry. He looked settled, like someone who'd already made peace with a painful truth. He walked into the kitchen, opened a bottle of water, and turned toward me. "Do you love me, Emily?" The question stopped me cold. There was no bitterness in his voice, only quiet sincerity. "Of course I do," I said too quickly. "You're my husband." He nodded slowly, his eyes never leaving mine. "Then why did you go there?" My throat tightened. I opened my mouth, but no words came out. How could I explain that I didn't go to find someone else? I went to find a part of myself that had faded in the quiet of our marriage. But even in my head, it sounded hollow. "I just wanted to feel alive again," I whispered. His jaw tightened. "And you couldn't feel alive here? With me?" That question hurt more than anything else he could have said, because there wasn't an easy answer. Somewhere along the way, we both stopped reaching. We'd become comfortable in the emptiness, drifting in routine. But I was the one who crossed the line, trying to fix what was broken in the worst possible way. Daniel leaned against the counter and let out a slow breath. "You know what's strange? I used to think I was the one who failed you, that maybe I wasn't enough anymore. But now I see it wasn't about that. You just wanted something different." Tears blurred my vision. "That's not fair, Daniel." "Maybe not," he said softly. "But neither was what you did." He turned to walk away. Panic gripped my chest. "Please don't leave," I pleaded. He stopped, his back still to me. "I'm not leaving," he said quietly. "But things won't ever be the same." He went upstairs again, and this time I didn't follow. I sat at the kitchen table, tracing the cracks in the wood, remembering the nights we used to sit there laughing over burnt dinners and bad movies. It felt like a lifetime ago. In the weeks that followed, the silence between us changed. It wasn't anger anymore. It was distance with borders. We still talked about errands and bills, shared meals, exchanged polite words. But his eyes didn't linger. His laughter didn't fill the room the way it used to. Even his good night carried the weight of an ending. One evening, I found him in the living room again, scrolling through his phone. I lingered at the doorway, my heart pounding. "Can we talk?" I asked quietly. He nodded, but didn't look up. "I've been thinking," I began, my voice shaking. "About that night, about us. I know sorry doesn't fix anything, but I need to say it anyway." He finally lifted his gaze, calm and unreadable. "You don't owe me words, Emily," he said gently. "You owe yourself honesty." That line cut deeper than I expected. "You went to that party because something inside you was already gone," he continued. "I can't rebuild something if there's no foundation left." "I want to fix this," I whispered. He shook his head slowly. "Sometimes fixing it means letting go." Those words echoed in my mind long after he walked out of the room. A month later, Daniel moved out. Not in anger, not in chaos. Just quiet finality. No shouting, no slamming doors. Only a note left on the counter. I hope you find whatever it is you're still searching for. I read that note every day for weeks, until the guilt slowly turned into understanding. I had wanted to feel alive again, but in chasing that feeling, I'd destroyed something real. Now, when I passed the mirror, I barely recognized the woman staring back. She got what she thought she wanted, to feel something. But the price was everything she didn't realize she already had. And some nights, when the house settles and the door creaks in the dark, I still catch myself looking toward the couch, half expecting to see Daniel sitting there in the pale blue light. But the couch is always empty, because this time, he didn't stop trying. I did.